So what are the steps for profiling success? Well, first and foremost, we need to recognize a pattern using volume profiling. Now, not to worry, I will show you numerous patterns within this profiling course, as well as when you join the streaming service. Every single day we will show you unique strategies that you can backtest and have a look at and develop yourself. So, once you have found a recognizable pattern, you need to go and do what I like to call a Harry Hindsight backtest. What this is, it's very simple. You go and find that similar pattern or that pattern and you go and find 5 other examples in the market. Okay? You then take these examples and you lay out the results of those examples. Okay, and what I mean by that is you physically find out how many ticks it would cost you to take on that trade versus how many ticks or prices you can make on that trade. So do a little bit of a risk reward, very basic risk reward analysis. Now, the reason we do it this way around and we do that first is because we can very easily identify if there is a strong enough pattern. Right? A lot of patterns, don't always necessarily give us the best risk-reward metrics. So we want to know early enough: is the strategy actually worth pursuing? Then, once we've done the visual Harry Hindsight backtest, we then need to go and do a practical replay backtest. What do I mean by that? We physically need to view the data as it's received live into the market. Now, most of you would normally do that on a day-to-day trading live markets. However, in this day and age with the technology available, you can actually get the data and replay that data in a live market type scenario. So with that information, what we do is we physically see how this strategy played out. We physically see how the market, shows us that information in real time. Now, there's 2 reasons we do this. First and foremost, we want to be able to live the strategy whilst it's occurring. Now, the reason is because a lot of us look at a market at the end of the day and we go and we say, well, that was a relatively straightforward buy or sell. The strategy was there. All I had to do was execute. But what we cannot practice just looking at a chart is the feelings and emotions of living through every second or minute or couple of minutes. So it's so important that we can go back and feel that trade out again as it occurred in real time, but not risk capital in doing so. The second reason that we want the practical replay is that we can pick up on various observations that the market is showing us in real time that can then confirm this trade strategy, or more importantly tell us that actually the trade strategy is not occurring as it should. What do I mean by that? For instance, if we take a basic trade strategy like a very aggressive buying tail. Now, we know based on this strategy that we don't particularly want to see aggressive selling at any point on a pullback. If we do see that aggressive selling, it's giving us a very early clue that maybe the strategy isn't going to work out as well as we would have liked it to work out. So by being able to relive the experience, we're able to pick up on very early clues as to when a trade strategy is working well and when it's not working as well. And it's this that will give our unique trade strategy a very strong advantage or an edge. Once we've done the practical replay, we then set our conditions and parameters for early observation and potential execution. So it's very simple. You have a trade strategy, you've backtested it. You now go and put in place the parameters. Okay. Remember, a unique edge or a trading strategy has exactness to it. The process is exact. There's no ifs and buts. There's no maybes. There's very little subjectivity. It's all objective. All right. So because of these parameters, this will mean that we can allow ourselves to just trade the trade and put in place the execution that is required. So that is our 4th step. Then our 5th step is we need to create various trading rules, as well as money management rules and risk management rules. Again, we do this before we execute. We don't want to be in a trade in the live markets and start thinking about where is my stop, how much am I risking on this, where is the trade wrong, what should I be identifying whilst being in this trade. All of this is done before we execute the trade in the market. Remember what I said to you in the previous slide when we spoke about edge. Right? You need to have a perfected process. If you perfect the process, you will succeed in that trade strategy. It's the fact that we're not fully prepared for that trade setup, the fact that we're not entirely sure of what our risk is, that is what creates, the confusion and ultimately leads to poor execution. Then, last but not least, we want to test with small size. So once you've found a strategy that works well, you've created all the parameters, you set in place the rules, you know exactly how the trade plays out, you then want to start testing it, putting real money in the market. Now again, when you're putting real money in the market as opposed to simulated money, you're going to create a whole different experience because of the emotional aspect. Don't forget, however, always lean on the fact that you've got a strong edge or a strong process. If you do this, it will allow you to become less emotional and focus more on the objective information that's coming from the market. Once you've found a successful strategy, don't forget, leverage up. Don't be afraid to leverage, guys. Too many traders in general are afraid of this thing called leverage. If you have got a real genuine edge, the path to success is via leverage. Leverage is what can make, dreams come true. Then, last but not least, always constantly assess and upgrade and evolve your patterns. What does that mean? It means that the trade doesn't end when you make profit. The trade doesn't end when you switch off your trading machine at the end of the day. The trade only ends when you've taken that strategy, broken it down for the umpteenth time, and you've gone over it time and time and time again. That's when the trade ends. Okay? Keep upgrading those trade strategies, because by upgrading them, you're upgrading your edge, you're enhancing your edge, and you're ensuring that you're ahead of those that are trying to develop the same edge as you.